That is a very interesting question, and it certainly merits our attention. Um, First of all, we are committed to the fundamentals of European unification, diversity or unity through diversity. We are committed to that. And that must mean that any discussion of the language regime begins with the discussion of endangered languages and lesser used languages. So, as a starting point in that discussion, we must recognize our responsibility to support the languages in Europe which are currently in trouble. And this means investing in them, radio programs, publishing houses, classrooms where people learn the heritage languages and so on. So we have that. Um, Secondly, the idea that France is multicultural, or I'm sorry, that Europe is multicultural and multilingual is something that we will preserve. So that is the challenge. Those of us who are working with the dissemination of English, the challenge is how can we work with English, knowing that it is a killer language and that it is pressing other languages onto the perimeter, and that it is replacing languages, killing languages. So we have that responsibility, and that must mean that in every way possible, we want to support French, and we want to support German and Italian and Spanish and Polish and all of the other languages of Europe. And no language should be left behind. As far as meeting, as you and I are meeting now, as two people speaking to each other, the idea that I would speak into a machine, which would then speak the language that you understand, and then you would speak to then we could just leave our machines to talk to each other and go have a beer. It's a kind of a world that lives like living in space. And when you talk about time differences and so on, you send a message to somebody and it takes them a year to get there. I believe that all of us are going to continue living in the real world. We're going to be able to take a walk in the forest. We're going to see birds flying in the sky, and we're going to talk to each other. So if somebody wants to envision a world where we're using machines every time we communicate, that sounds to me like a computer game, like living in a computer game. It's interesting how COVID-19 has changed our understanding of the world. We're suddenly realizing it's a lot easier to meet like this. Because if I had to get on a plane and fly down to where you are and stay in a hotel, that would have been cool. But it's pretty cool that I can just sit in my living room and talk to you. And so we're doing this in language. So my answer to this person is, I believe that we will continue to experience life as human beings that use language, verbal communication, to interact with each other. And I think that the translation services will be much more about written language. So I don't see computers replacing oral communication. And if that day does come, I hope I'm not around. I want to die as a Renaissance man who actually talked to real people. Is it going to get to the point where when you start a conversation, you're going to say to somebody, "Are you a human being?" And then they're going to say, "Oh, well, no, actually, I'm not. I'm the personification of the person you think you're talking to." I don't really know. It sounds like science fiction.